The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, hello everybody. We're almost there. Stroke of 4 is coming soon. And this is Ted Knack from TopoDOT, Team TopoDOT. I'm here with Maddie Turnius, David, Jennifer Triana, David Turnius, and oh, I don't know who else is online here. But you guys know most of us, and anybody new to TopoDOT, that's great. Welcome. Most of you are in the community, and you're anxious to hear a little bit about version 11, our new TopoDOT release, Pacific Coast Highway. So you'll be seeing that through the year. Version 11 will, go this theme with iconic places. It's because it's an iconic release. A lot of new things, a lot of cool things happening. So let's get to it. We've got a lot to get through in an hour, and I'm going to start now. So as you guys know, anytime there's a place for you to ask questions, Jennifer will be monitoring those questions for you, getting you answers, and then as it mixes into the conversation, we'll do our best to address them if to address them also over on air here. So okay, so again, welcome everyone. We're going to talk about. We're not going to be talking about everything in TopoDOT. There's always a lot of new tools. We're going to pick out a sample of them. We couldn't go over everything we've done. TopoDOT's always changing, always evolving. There's a lot of new technology, now new approaches to what we're doing. And there's a lot of, obviously the process is just getting better and more sophisticated. And a lot of the tools that we do, just remember, TopoDOT isn't just a software application. TopoDOT is a process. And a lot of the tools you'll see are contributing to that process to make it more efficient, more effective, and to make you more successful in your applications. So let's get going. So Professor Topo is here. He gets to talk to you a little bit about what's going on here. So what's going to happen is we're going to talk about the new point cloud engine, and we're going to let Maddie tell you about that. The point cloud engine has been rewritten about 4 or 5 times. TopoDOT has been completely rewritten, I think 3 or 4 times. And this is important. We always keep up with the latest in technology with regard to the software programming platforms, software language platforms, making it more efficient, better. We'll be talking about new display modes, and basically the point cloud engine, basically how to do things better. New display modes, Maddie will show you that. It's pretty exciting. Some of the things you can do, we got in our earlier morning presentation, a lot of people really saw uses for it right away in the new display mode. So we're going to show you that too. Maddie's going to show you that, and there's some new tools. And again, this isn't all the tools, so we encourage you to always, if you think something should be there, or obviously, contact the wiki or search, or just give us a call, because we can't go through them all. But some things that are actually going to help, again, really contribute to the process. So that's a control point to data analysis. That's now in 3D. So instead of just this new version of the control point to data analysis, basically it's the idea. It used to, I'm sure many of you used it, and it's very effective, and it still works in a mode where it just basically looks at a control point and compares it to the elevation of the point cloud. Always very effective, can still do it that way. However, if you have templates in your mobile data especially, but if you have known templates that we can put in and look for, basically enter as a cell and look for, that's going to basically find those, compare the control position to the position of the template in 3 dimensions. So that's really exciting, very useful. Break line extraction. Basically, it's a variation of our traditional break line extraction, which is still the workhorse of the TopoDOT program for getting break lines, curve lines out. We also added, some while ago, we added some template extraction, where we could define a template and look and just basically find that automatically. The challenge with the template extraction was that it didn't change, didn't change elevations, didn't change size. It was basically a best match of the fixed template, and a lot of times there was noise and in the form of grass and things and whatever. So that proved a little problematic, and was a lot of time to go back and make sure it was correct. You know, if things are too automated, it takes time to go back, and that can take as long as doing it the old slow way the first time. So what we've done now is we've integrated the template fitting into the brake line, traditional brake line extraction, and that's really exciting. And Maddie's going to show you that, because what that does, it lets you, it basically speeds up the process, reduces your mouse clicks by an enormous amount, and really speeds things up. And you're doing the QA/QC as you're going through it. So you're gonna like that a lot. Now we're also doing topography reprojection, and I'm going to take over for that. We have some videos. The topography reprojection is now very fast and very fully automated, and it's very important to your process. So you're going to see why that is, and why taking a topography after it gives you the ability. Topography projection gives you the ability to move the point cloud, scale it, move it to either another coordinate system, or just basically another datum, or attach control later, and basically project all your CAD elements, all your extracted vectors, everything automatically to the new point cloud. It's very important. Okay, and I see that question, and Jennifer will ask that or answer that for you, Holman. Anyway, so introducing TopoCloud Pro. Every TopoDOT user is in the data hosting business. Basically, TopoCloud Pro, those of you who don't know or new to us, TopoCloud is an administrator, and it helps you organize your data. It helps you store your data. It lets you put it where you want it. Typically Azure, the Amazon S3, or your own FTP for the raw data, for basic raw data. And we've actually gone to, and we've actually, one of the big projects we had this year was to develop TopoCloud Pro, which is a web-based data management, data access, data sharing system that lets you take especially your mobile data, your corridor data, and lets you give that to your community use that data, and it puts you in the business. You host your own data now. You're not looking for third parties. We'll talk about that. So let's talk a little bit about here. So this is the TopoDOT workflow. This is your acquisition out here, and then basically you manage, you assess your data, you extract here, then you adjust your data. And so what we're going to do here is talk about reprojection right away, because the reprojection is very, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself, aren't I? Maddie, I'm sorry, man, it's a long day. I'm going to turn it right over to Maddie, and Maddie's going to go over to all these new things, and I'm sorry for that. Sorry, Maddie, losing my mind. All right, so Maddie, so let's get back up. We're talking about the new point cloud engine display modes. Okay, Maddie, show us what you got.
All right, guys. So a lot of things with the point cloud engine. A lot of things have been optimized so that things tools are running quicker. In the past, you've had to optimize your DOT files to kind of get a little bit better visualization. The new version of this point cloud engine actually optimizes everything on the fly as it pulls in. So it's not as necessary to do that, and it doesn't restrict you to DOT files only. You can that process basically works on any file type. What we've also done, and just off the bat, is you'll notice the entire ribbon interface has been redesigned. So it's a lot more. I'd say it's a lot more user-friendly, a lot cleaner. And then now going back here to the point cloud engine, there's a lot of changes to the actual display engine itself. And one of the aspects that's been changed is with the actual RGB coloring of the point cloud. In the past, when we're displaying RGB points, the actual points in the RGB color has been compressed so that we're able to preserve some of that system memory. That was especially important when working with MicroStation V8i and that 32-bit platform. But now that we're on 64-bit, we're actually allowing you to utilize that full RGB range. So that lets you kind of just pick out additional features from that RGB. Things like all these cracks and things in the old version might have been a little bit more blurry. Now I can see things a lot more clearly. What we also did is in the past, you could only load either RGB or intensity at one time. With this new version, you can basically have both of those loaded and you can toggle between them back and forth without having to reload your data. And the other thing here with the drone data, you typically don't have intensity information. So what we added in here was a way of basically selecting the intensity type. So if you have a traditional LiDAR system and a traditional LAS file, you basically leave your intensity import to just intensity here. But if you've got drone data with no intensity, you can switch it here to RGB grayscale, and what that does is it converts the RGB colors into that grayscale coloring scheme and sticks it into your intensity field. All right, so you see something like this. What that lets you do is it lets you use TopoDOT's tools that rely on that intensity. So, for example, the extraction by intensity, and so kind of, and then other display modes as well. And that kind of speeds up your processing extraction through there. But so let's say, for example, you wanted to isolate some of the paint stripes here. We can come in here into this histogram, same as you've done in the past. But you'll also notice we have this intensity picker here. And what this lets you do is, let's say I can see there's some paint stripes there, so I can click on that, and it isolates that that intensity range for me automatically. And so if you've got similar intensities, you might have some issues in there. But again, it's a quicker way of basically isolating that paint stripe, and you can come in here and fine tune these if you want. So again, that's an option. So coming back here, the other thing that we've done with the display modes is you can have basically hybrids of the different display modes there. So in the past, you could do the distance from plane, for example, but it's hard to distinguish where all of the features are, like the road and the paint stripes and the sidewalks. It's very difficult to see. So what we did is you have a display mode in here called deviation intensity hybrid. And you can see right off the bat, now I have a better idea of where everything is. I can see, okay, here's my sidewalk, here's my road, cars, and everything's just a lot easier to work with and to extract at that point. All right, so that's one example there. We also have some other hybrids in here for mixing classification and intensity, or classification with RGB. Now, well, what that might be useful for is, let's say you're doing some encroachment analysis. I'm just going to do a quick little path here, and I'm going to select basically a shape that I want to run through a line down my road there. And so I'm going to go ahead and run that, and you'll notice I'm in my RGB display mode, but I can see all this area here that was flagged red. So rather than me having to switch to my my classification display mode to see those results, or rather than hiding the entire point cloud except for that encroachment area, I get that information right up front. Okay, so it's a lot easier to see that way. And then just really quick, if I wanted to convert that to some sort of line work, I can that you can basically pass on with your DGN. We've got a tool in here called Outline Point Clusters, and basically I can just click process, and what that does is it takes that chunk of data, outlines it for you with a microstation element, and it's going to calculate the area for you. So yeah, two little pieces. Okay, so again, a lot of other little changes with the display engine. We won't have too much time to go into there. But any questions before we move on to some of the newer tools? Looking at the chat there here so far. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and move on. So let's go ahead and close this out. All right, so here we've got a mobile data set, and one of the new tools here that we've developed is for checking the control points against the the data. Now we've had that in the past where it checked the control points and elevation only, but like Ted mentioned, the new tool now will actually find the control points in not only in the elevation but you know, in all directions. So see if I can find one that's a little easier for you guys to see. There you go. So if you guys can see this, basically we've got the control point there at the center, and you'll notice there's a target there that was defined around that control point. So the tool is actually going to find that target to determine the XY deviation, and then it's going to calculate the elevation off of that. So really easy to use tool here. Basically, I'm going to go ahead and go to my assessment tab here. We'll use the control point to data tool. Now I've already defined the target that I wanted to look for, which is basically these two squares. We'll select our control point level and then go ahead and click process. All right, and so what that's going to do, like I said, it's going to go in there and find the targets. See if I can make them a little easier for you guys to see there. Make them a little thicker. Okay, so you can kind of see that where it found that. It's going to let us navigate through each one of those, see how well everything fit. So that's a little bit easier to see for you. Okay, so everything there looks good. All right, in this case, I can see one shot off to the side. I might come in here and actually chop this off so that the tool doesn't get confused in this other high intensity region there. Give that a second there to chop off. All right, and then once that's done there, you can go ahead and click on this update button, and it's going to recalculate that fit, and then you can see it's detected that position, and then you can move on. If everything looks okay, then we can go ahead and generate our Excel report. All right, it's going to give us all those deviations. It's going to tell you the target that you use, so you can have multiple targets if you've got those set up there. And then you got these different charts to show you what kind of deviation you've got. Okay, so very easy to use there.
Okay. Doesn't look like there's any questions. I think everybody's following pretty well. I guess we can move on to the next one.
All right.
It's a brake line, huh?
Yep. So the next thing I want to show you guys is the changes to the brake line extraction tool. So everybody, for the most part, should be familiar with the brake line extraction tool. It's the traditional way that we've had of extracting the curb lines and different brake lines for years now. But we've added additional functionality in here that makes this process a bit easier. So I'm going to go ahead and place my flow line here. I'm also going to go ahead and set my top of curb. And let's say we're going to place our back curb there. Now, in the past, if you wanted these points to adjust, you can go ahead and push these adjust buttons here, and that's going to drop down to the point cloud elevation. If your curb is a bit more vertical, it's sometimes tough to get that top of curb there to actually drape to the top. And so what we did is we added these temporary points, and so I'm going to go ahead and say adjust and add a temporary point right in here. You see it shows up as that circle. Now these points, you can put as many as you want, and they're not going to be plotted. They're just there temporarily. I'm going to go ahead and anchor my top of curb and my back curb to those points. That way, as I move my template around, you can see how it drops and adjusts itself to that point cloud elevation. Okay. Now, the other thing that we've done in here is we created this auto fitting tab. And you'll already notice here it put this this box around my my lines, and what it's doing is it's generating a template that it's going to fit to that point cloud data. Now, in this particular case, I can see that my template is kind of cutting across my my curb, and it's not quite as clean as I needed there. So what I'm going to do is add a few more temporary points without that adjust button, and just kind of refine it a bit here. So now You can see here this boundary here, this template is a better definition of my my curb line. And then I'm going to go ahead and link these. And so now as I move this around, you can kind of see that that box changing and adjusting itself. So that's basically the information it's going to use to fit to that point cloud data. So we also have this look ahead option for anybody that's not too familiar with it. This basically shows you a cross section of the data looking across. So if you see like a ramp or anything like that, you can jump directly to that position. You'll see it come down in here. It's basically looking at the curve from that other direction. So you kind of have this side by side. And then what's going to happen is if I go ahead and push enter, it's going to move forward to take that next cross section, and it automatically fit that template to that new position. And so if that looks okay, then I go ahead and click enter. If I do need to make any adjustments, then I can come in here, tweak it. It's going to fix its template, and you know, basically just keep moving along through there and extract your break line. Okay, so here you can see that shrunk a little bit. So if I move that, it readjusts itself. Okay, so simple process there, and it should speed up a lot of your extraction there. Okay, so can you turn off white point titles extraction window yet? I believe somebody asked there if you can turn off the labels on the breakline extraction window. Basically, these guys here, they show you the level that these were created on. I believe I added an option in the TopoDOT.ini file. If you can, just send me an email later after the webinar, and I can get back to you. Or Jennifer, if you can write down their email address.
Now, yeah, Jesse Shatter also asked, is this available in a 32-bit V8i?
Okay, yeah. So a lot of the tools actually that I'm showing you here are not available in the 32-bit V8i version. As we've been moving forward and working with the 64-bit platform, it's just a lot of limitations in that V8i architecture. So while we try to port over as many of the tools, you'll notice probably about 75% of the changes that we've done for this version 11 release have been specifically for MicroStation Connect. So just keep that in mind as you guys move forward. Hopefully you can start moving on to the MicroStation Connect platform. You get a lot more benefits that way.
I think it's getting difficult, right? I mean, it just doesn't support some of these new tools. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's a lot more in-depth reasons, but that's part of it.
All right, fair enough.
Okay. I think Ted, was there? I don't remember the list. Was there anything on my end before you jump over to the topography reprojection?
No, I think that's it. So it looks like a couple people are. Let's see. No, I think if everybody understands what's happening, is it's automatically fitting the data inside that volume. That if you have noise in your data, UAV data, Maddie can just show them how you adjust that. Just as a little adjustment. So okay, this is, you kind of look at your data, but you make it as big as you need, and you'll be putting the points in the center of it, right? So it's going to do that adjustment. So if you guys know it, it basically fits it, finds the best fit. So there's a lot less mouse clicking, 4 points to match at every break. And then when you take, all you're doing is your flow line, you're moving your flow line, and it's actually changing the shape and adjusting it one time. It's adjusting everything in one time. So you see how that works. And then, of course, something like that happens, you just fix it again. So you have that capability of doing that. This is a good example. Let's just talk about that look forward, since we found one here. So you can go to where you need to, where this breaks and where it ends, as you see it going away. So for those of you not sure, it actually backs up, right, Maddie?
Yeah. So here you can see basically on this little bar here, since you see where that drop off is coming, you can position it right where that break is happening, and it's going to back up to that position.
and then you go to the other side of it, and where it goes away. So then you can just move it. Right?
Yeah, this is the end of my line. So.
Oh, it's the end of your line. Okay, got it. So you can move it somewhere else. Yeah, way past. You need a longer line. Okay, fine. Everybody gets it. You'd move it forward, and then you put the other side of the brake, and then you'd have your 2 brakes. You know, and adjust them. So, okay. So there's one question from Jeremiah Bean. Can an option be added to look ahead to tie it to the red point instead of the fixed offset?
That can be, we can look at that, but it's not going to make it for this release. It's going to be coming out in next week.
I didn't even understand the question. Apparently you did. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Good. We'll leave it there. Okay. Okay, so, but this is the way it works now. We think this is going to be a lot faster. And again, that QA, QC is getting done all the time because you're clicking and looking at it and clicking. You know, we know this is the workhorse of the brake line tools, and I think this improvement is really going to like send your productivity. It's going to be an order 2 magnitude higher. So, if there isn't anything else, any other questions? Okay, thanks, Dan. We love this update too, and we're going to move into the reprojections again. The one I started and forgot, so I got carried away here. So anyway, so as I said, we're doing a model reprojection, and I want to talk a little bit about why that's important. I know a lot of you guys are the guys, you know, you guys are the TopoDOT wizards extracting all the line work, but if you, and a lot of times the business development guys don't get involved in this, but if you could tell them this is a really important tool. This is the TopoDOT workflow, and as you know, sometimes you have to adjust data, you don't have control up front, or it takes a long time to get it, it comes later in the process, or there's just been a mistake. And everything, you manage your data, you assess it, that means you store it, you share it, whatever, you assess its quality, and then you extract. There's times when you have to adjust it, either on purpose or you have to fix something. For some reason, you don't have the control yet, you don't want to wait 3 weeks for you to get control, you want to start extracting. That's really important in the workflow. To compress the schedule. So what happens is, if you adjust this data, obviously everything you've extracted no longer fits. So basically you're down here, you extract your data, you assess it again, make sure it's in the right place. Now in this particular case, is your model reprojection takes all your CAD elements, all your vectors, all your CAD elements, your features, your cells, and we'll project them onto the new point cloud automatically. And the cool thing about it is we've had this tool for a while, but it was an older version that required you to do something a little more tedious, which was actually extract a line, the same line in the middle of both point clouds, say down a road or whatever, had the beginning and end of the same place. All that goes away. All you have to do to make this work, and nope, I missed my main point here. Your model reprojection accelerates schedule, lowers cost, fixes mistakes. Okay, so all you have to do here, all we need are pre and post adjustment image files. That's all. So the bottom line is, if you're going to attack this and you're going to use this, in other words, you get a project that you say, okay, we're going to start extracting, and we know we're going to move the data later, or you know, for whatever reason you have to move it. The only thing you have to remember is you keep the export the images, your images in TopoDOT format, and then basically you keep the pre and the post image files. Don't overwrite the pre-registration image files. As long as you have those 2 files, they're the same images. We'll look at how you've adjusted those images, and we'll know how to adjust all the CAD elements, all the vectors, all the entire DGN file. It's very straightforward. It works really well. I will also point out, you don't even have to have images. For whatever reason, this process works if you're processing at night. We don't care if you have images. You can have all black images. We don't care. We're not looking at the images. All we're doing is looking at where the image was. Then after you've adjusted your trajectory in your software, your mobile software, you know, then basically how that image and orientation of that image was changed. You don't even have to line them up or calibrate them. We don't care. So let's show you how it works. Again, it could be do it in the dark. We just want those data points. So let's take a look and see how that looks like. Our friends from ESP, big shout out to them. They most of them were here earlier. They gave us this data. They said, and they beat us up saying, look, your imagery projection was too tedious. It wasn't working really well. It worked when you did it right, but it was tedious. It took a while. So here's what Maudi has. He has unregistered, the raw data he's calling that's unregistered data, and he's extracted the outside of each line, from our new line extraction tool, which can do that. And now he's taken in the registered data, which is off by, looks like about 6 feet. Okay. So you see it doesn't line up anymore. The only thing, Maddie, we don't even have to, we're just showing you that the data doesn't line up. That isn't really necessary to even look at the data before and after, to even load it. All we really have to do is select the raw and registered image project. So the raw project being pre-registration or pre-mistake fixing or whatever, but and after you've moved that point cloud and adjusted the trajectory, move the point cloud, what are the new image what's the new image file look like? It's the same images, the same file, just in a different location and orientation for each image. We make a trajectory out of the image. These are actually image trajectories, so we can pull out our own trajectory. That's before the beginning and after. And then all you got to do is select all the elements, and you say process selected elements. And what it will do is it will move all those points to the new, automatically move them all to the new location. Okay, to the new registered data. And let's take a look, and Maudi's going to show in this video. Here's what it is. Now this is obviously sample data. We never get the big projects anymore, which is okay. But this works, and it's been tested. Our friends, big shout out to ESP Associates and our friends there, Randy Allen, especially out there in North Carolina and Indiana, I think where Randy's living. He basically said, okay, he did this. He ran this in a real project, and we'll talk about that in a second. But as you see from here, Maudi's taking in the initial project and where we ended up, and it's, if you turn on both point clouds, you can see they both fit perfectly in 3 dimensions. So this is really powerful, and again, this has business development schedule, and again, the business development guys should know they can go in and say, hey, we don't need control up front. We just need it aligned relatively. No control, it's less expensive, we'll do it. And then when you get the job or we start the job, we'll put control down and we can change all our line work accordingly. And that really, really changes the whole look, the whole way you attack the market. See that, okay. Any questions there? Let us know. But I just want to tell you that Randy, again, at ESP, did test it on a real project, and he's at TopoDOT. Randy's a TopoDOT weenie, so he's really good. And basically, he tested this TopoDOT Re-Projection on this project. I think it was 3 miles, 365,000 vertices. Took 45 minutes. Apparently, a vertical bust was when I found the control. Took about 45 minutes to reproject it all, 3 miles. 45 minutes, all the checks were right on, and they rebuilt the service and had it corrected within a day. So it works. Please keep that in mind, and please share that you guys were capable of doing this. You guys are capable of doing this. It changes a lot of things when you're attacking a project. If there's not any questions there, I saw a question. I see your question, John Gilmore, about the pavement analysis, and we'll mention that later. But to keep going on. Oh, yep. It was so Randy now took his test run is smoking. Okay, yeah. I forget when I put these things in here. With Professor Topo just says things. Okay. One of the things I really want to focus on today is something called TopoCloud, and our new, what we've really worked on this year really hard, and that's been Maudi and David, the Turnius brothers there, and they've actually come up with a new project, TopoCloud Pro. And that TopoCloud Pro is, it's basically, well, TopoCloud, let me just talk a little bit about what TopoCloud is. Some of you may not know. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go change my okay, there you go. So we're going to change our presentations, and we're going to talk about data storage. We're going to talk about you taking control of your data and either going into the data hosting business or hosting your own data if you're, say, a DOT and you're getting it, but basically sharing that data, basically extracting much more value from your data, sharing the data across your operations. So TopoCloud is a different approach to it's actually not a cloud. It's a little misnamed, but it's kind of cool. It's basically an administrator. So we'll show you how that works. And then we're going to show you what TopoCloud Pro is. So basically, this is the TopoDOT workflow. And, we've talked, everybody's been using it. Assessment, the quality assessment is solid. The extraction is solid. You got to keep training, we're making it better. Keep up your training. But really, I will tell you that the real growth of this business, this industry, and the growth of your activities is going to be data management. How well you store and share your data, okay? And this is where, within this part of the workflow, the TopoDOT workflow, this is where TopoCloud comes in. TopoCloud is an administrator that you get with TopoDOT. Every one of you owns your TopoCloud administrator. Not everyone uses it, but let me show you how it works. So we have a little bit of business conversation. The majority of your projects are linear. We're just out there all the time and we see it. It's you scan, you extract, you deliver, and that's pretty much it. Your customer, your client, or even internally, you may keep the point cloud data, but it doesn't get used because nobody really knows where it is, and it's difficult to get to. It's just on a hard drive somewhere, and nobody knows except for a few people that you even have data there, especially when you get far removed from in your organization. Can you mean your organization or your client's organization, So the data is delivered, but it's really rarely used by the customer. And there's a demand for accessing this data. The value's understood. There's not one of you hasn't looked at a point cloud and say, okay, I got, edge of payment, edge of payment line work vectors all the way down this line, all the way down this road. We didn't do anything with the bridges, but we know the bridge data is there. There's good. So let's just show you how we're handling this, because because a lot of times your customers, and again, I'm talking about internally and externally, not even if you're not in a survey management company, if you're a DOT, your customers are the engineering, planning, construction, they are prepared to use that data. They want the point cloud, you want to share it with them, you can't really, and that trust is a tough word, but you can't depend on them that they're going to have all the capability of really attacking that data and extracting what they need reliably, because we know how difficult it is, don't we? So basically, I messed this up, had it come up wrong, but basically let's just put it up here. Typically the way it's working now and how the market is responding is there's a lot of hosting services positioned between the geospatial specialist and the end user. So what's happening is a lot of hosting services come up there where they want this data. You've basically driven down here and you've got your data, and then there's a third-party hosting service, and it could be a Ugrid, it could be a Jetstream from Leica, it could be Dielmo, is this Spanish company, it could be Pointera from Australia, but they all want to host large data and they want to give it to you. Okay, it's hosted, you can get to the point cloud data, but this solution is weak for a lot of MLS applications because we are building things. There's liability associated with it. This has to meet performance requirements. This data has to meet very specific performance requirements, and everybody has to know about it. This solution is weak for that. And please don't interpret that I'm putting any of these down. They're useful. They do great things. They take a lot of data. They stream it down to you. To entire cities. It's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about your construction quality, transportation corridor data that we're doing in mobile LiDAR. These don't apply well. They basically make a big bundle of points and they send it to your user, and you can do some basic measurements. But Where they're weak are your strengths. And when I'm talking about strength, you, us, in the community who understand how this data is organized. Think about it. Their solutions aren't adequate for engineering quality geospatial data. Why? There's no data provenance. Every one of us knows we have to know where the data came from, when it was done, who did it, how it got there, and how it got there, where was the source. We have to know its quality. They don't know the quality. They can't. We've seen it all over the world. We're just basically taking a bunch of data from different times, putting it together, and saying, "Here, go measure." Your limited extraction capabilities. Look at all the tools, hundreds of tools. Look at the time you guys do, invest in extracting accurate models and topographies and vectors and features. You can't just throw your point cloud over the wall and let them do it. It doesn't work. To people that you don't know, that may or may you don't know what qualifications they have to do that. It limits your modeling capabilities. They can't model really because they're basically working in those data hosting services are relatively expensive. They stream it down, and they're depending on something else to basically take that data and extract from it. There's no comprehensive process. Nobody knows the protocols, how this is supposed to work, and how it's supposed to be traceable back to the source, back to where the people that signed off on that geospatial data. And it's expensive IT requirements. Once you stream, it gets expensive. There's a lot of processing going on up there. And when the more processing goes, it gets very expensive. And it's a clumsy business model, to be honest. Going back, and I think we can, if we go back, if you remember that slide, basically what happens if you're let's say you're a mobile mapping company or basically a survey company, a mapping and survey company, and you just basically said, okay, I'm delivering a project, and this has happened to many of our customers. They look for a third-party solution to host this data before we had it. So they asked us. We said, wait, we just don't do it yet. This is a couple of years ago, year ago, even last year, But they said, okay, they found a third party, and what happened that was relatively expensive. They folded into the cost of the first project, but then year 2, year 3, they're done with the project, and then the customer still wants hosting. They have to get paid, and they start realizing how expensive it is, and it just basically falls apart. And there's no liability. You make a measurement, it's wrong. Who's at fault? The guy who extracted incorrectly, or the data, or maybe they didn't understand. There was no control in the data. They shouldn't have done something. It's a clumsy operational and business model. It really doesn't work well. So the TopoCloud solution is designed to basically solve those challenges, to address those challenges and solve them. So again, TopoCloud is administrator. You all own the basic TopoCloud solution. This is what you have now. This is the way you should be addressing, this is the way you should be handling all your data. All data that you have, you should be able to get to within a minute. Any point cloud you've ever made. If you use the TopoCloud administrator and our documented processes, which are well documented on TechNote 1034 on our website, you organize the data that way. It's not difficult. It's just a nice, clean directory structure, and basically it's an organization. It's basically a protocols of how to set this up. You go through the TopoCloud administrator. You put it on Azure now. We support Azure, Amazon S3, or in this case, you could put it on your private FTP. And basically what will happen is that your data will look like this. So within the survey and CAD operations, you open up TopoDOT, you view your web projects, you view all web projects. This is actually a little dated. We have nicer icons now. But the bottom line is you can say, you can find the data I want to play it again. Sorry about that. Okay. So I'm back in the next one. Oh man, got ahead of myself. All right, sorry about that. Okay, so let's move that up a little bit. Well, it doesn't long. Okay, so basically you view all your web projects, every project you've done, and Maddie just changed it up so it'll have airborne, UAV, mobile, and static. So you'll actually see from colors and icons what they are. Okay, so when you just hover over one, you'll know a lot about this already. Who did it, when they did it, what date it was. There's some quality control information that's very important. Once you understand how we do quality control, which is pretty straightforward, these three numbers will tell you how well it's aligned, how dense it is, what the density is, and also if you had control shots, how many met your specification and the standard deviation. It's all there. You know a lot before you even open it up. Once you open it up, though, you just click on it, and you'll know where your data is. It's right here. This is in Massachusetts. You can find the data you want. There's no bridge. There's no cross-section. There's nothing you can't find within a couple minutes. Okay? This is the way it's done. Now, and my video stopped. There it goes. Okay, so you basically select, you pull in your icons, you select, where you are. This is what I want. This is the project. They come in very quickly. These are the geospatial icons that point to where the data are, and then they are pointing to the cloud, and you select the ones you need and you download. This is how you do it. You just keep pulling from it. We don't care about streaming. There's no bandwidth requirements. If it takes you 2 or 3 minutes to basically download a couple miles of data, is cached on your hard drive. It comes up in seconds until you get rid of it. You get what you need, where you need it, and so if it takes 2 or 3 minutes, have a cup of coffee, you come back, you have 2 miles of data, start working. It's easy. Second time you open and close, it'll be a couple minutes. You can actually download it in batch if you want to do it too. So bottom line is, there it is. Obviously, now you have your data this quickly. You can, here we're cutting a cross section just to show how powerful it is. And then if you want to download an image, all those images, we download the image project file. It comes in this quickly because it's only the pointers. There's not the images itself, but 5,000 images now located and available to this project. When they click, you can do this quickly, okay? This is the way if you handle your data, you have this if you have TopoDOT. You can do this tomorrow. And we just get frustrated a little bit because not everybody's using it. We want to move everybody down that path. Okay, let's go back a little bit. The next thing we've done is we've also made DPEGs. For those of you who are not sure what DPEGs are, I'm going to show you real quickly. And we also have a viewer, a TopoDOT for Esri, which goes into the desktop form of Esri. We don't have it on the server yet. That's kind of on the drawing board. But right now, we're going to look at DPEGs and Esri in ArcMap. And it could be in ArcGIS Pro or Desktop Explorer. So basically, you can get to your GIS operations with your mobile data, and you can share that with them. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So here we are. This is, again, TopoDOT. And you have the capability of taking 3D data into ArcMap, ArcGIS Pro, and Desktop Explorer. ArcMap, this is ArcMap. Well, this is actually what we're doing here. You have this capability. You make DPEGs. What's a DPEG? A DPEG goes through in TopoDOT automatically. It takes the images that you require. You don't have to have all of them. I wouldn't take the one over your head if you have the full spherical camera, the ladybug or something, and you can do every fifth photo if you just need every 20 feet or so. You don't have to take them all. But the bottom line is every time you find a photo, it samples the point cloud data inside the field of view of that photo, and it attaches that to the JPEG as spatial data and makes that to a DPEG. That DPEG contains geospatial data, and it looks like an image. So as you do, does that automatically in TopoDOT. You own that. It doesn't cost anything more. You can do this once you have a DPEG file treated just like images. You can bring them into your viewer, and you can see the different layers of spatial data. You can navigate through the images. You can go down the line. You can see what you have. If you see what your GIS people can see with that, they can go, okay, that's a sign. It's missing here. Let me find that. This is easy, right? All your GIS people know how to do this. And basically, they can just extract from that. He's just been looking and put it in the right form, whatever he's doing, put in the sign attribute. So anyway, So now you can draw in here, you can make some basic line work, you can see how this works, right? And you can make some basic measurements. That's cool. So that's what a DPEG is. You don't have to, you can do it in the image again, like we showed before. You don't have to do it in the point cloud here, but that's the data that's actually attached to it. It's very powerful. And then, of course, you can do basic clearances, and Mally's developed a nice little clean little tool that lets you do clearances and widths and basic measurements. Okay, so that's what a DPEG is, and that's your S3. So that's your S3. Now we're going to we finish this with TopoCloud Pro. TopoCloud Pro is your website. This is a new product. TopoCloud Pro is actually a website that hosts data. It hosts DPEGs, tiles. Well, basically, it pulls from. You have to host them on Amazon or Azure, and then TopoCloud Pro basically you basically give a URL out across your operations and to your site assessment, your operations planning, your support, your logistics, management, whoever is interested in your corridor data, they will have access through where it's stored, through the TopoCloud Pro website, basically all the information. Mally's going to show you a live demo of that. So I'm going to turn it over to him briefly, but I just want to point out the last aspect of this, and Mally's going to show you it live, but the last aspect of this is that these people, all these people that you don't know, you're the geospatial guys, and it gets to engineers and it gets to people that need information that you've never heard of. You can give them this information. They will be able to access what's out there, and they'll be able to get right back to you. It's just basically communication, and they can request data, models, analysis, and more. And it should go back to the administrator for this project. Why? Because somebody has to, when they give out information, when it's extracted, somebody should be signing off and says this will meet your requirements. This is, so this elevation shot is acceptable. We have control. We know about this. And a lot of times these people here will not have the experience, or they won't have TopoDOT, they won't have the tools for anything, and they won't have the experience and training to extract in the way they should. We all know that it takes learning. So basically they will get back to you and ask this guy, and then you basically just start an email conversation and get them what they need. This opens all kinds of business development, support, all kinds of business development opportunities, okay, to actually keep extracting, keep using this data. And this is what was missing in the linear model that I talked about before, where you just do a project, you extract, and you give them the extracted, and then the point cloud sits there. Now it's alive. So I'm going to go and turn it over to Mally. And Mally's taken over here, and he's going to show you the updated TopoCloud administrator from the beginning, how you set up a project for all the TopoCloud stuff, even your CAD for your CAD people, basically for your CAD and your point clouds and the like. And then he'll talk about how we set up TopoCloud Pro, which is really easy, and what functionality you have to actually be a host your own data, set up projects to provide people access, to make them expire, and to know who's attacking that project. That puts you in the data hosting business. Very different than a third-party host. Anybody that has this now can go and host your own data, and you are in the business. Okay, so.
All right, guys. So, like I mentioned, this is the new TopoCloud Administrator. It's not released quite yet, but it should follow shortly after TopoDOT. Basically, this is what lets you upload the different projects and set up permissions and things for who has access to that data. But if I want to upload a new project, I go ahead and click on Add. You'll just fill out some things like project name, so project S. Specify what type of system it is, so if it's, let's say, a mobile system. Fill out project information. Again, these are all optional, but fill out whatever you want. So, acquisition date, let's say whatever there, data source, image source, the client info, VF control, number of control shots, acquisition date for the control, all that good stuff there. You'll specify your coordinate system. So, let's say here, Florida East, Florida North, whatever you want to specify there. You'll select your point cloud data. So this will be the TVW files that's generated by TopoDOT. And basically, it tells us where all the data is actually located, how you have it tiled out. You can select your line work that was extracted, and you'll see why that's important when we get to TopoCloud Pro. You can also select your images that were collected from the system so that we're able to access that either through TopoDOT, or if you actually generated JPEGs, then we'll be able to access them again through TopoCloud Pro or the GIS packages. Your overviews, this is basically any sort of like raster type image that you generate from the point cloud. TopoDOT has several ways of doing that, either based off of the basic display mode, or you can generate these raster images based off of the assessment reports like the point cloud deviation or the point cloud density overview tools. And again, you'll see more about that when I jump over to TopoCloud Pro. You can upload any sort of meta files with your project. So that can be, for example, DGNs, control files, PDFs, basically any kind of file that you want to put up there with a description, you can do that. Your reports are basically the assessment reports. So if I select all of those guys, all my deviation assessments, it's going to say, okay, I've got, in this case, 4 million measurements. Out of all of those, 0 are greater than 1/10 of a foot separation. I've got 99% of my data is below 400ths of a foot separation. And so this is all going to save up there with our project. And you can do the same there for the density. And then you can also tag this project with anything that you want to use to filter out in the future, like maybe project number or anything like that. And then you select your storage type. So like Ted mentioned, you've got either FTP, a map network drive, Azure, or Amazon S3. It is important to note that if you plan to use TopoCloud Pro, it's going to require either the Amazon S3 storage or the Azure storage. Once you've filled out all that information, you go ahead and click upload, and it's going to go through there and put it up to the storage server that you selected. And then it's going to put it in the list here so that if I want to give somebody access, I go ahead and click add. And let's say I want to give Paul access to this project. I go ahead and select him and click accept, and now he's able to access that data. And so I can also add guests from other companies if I want to do that, as long as they have a username already created. So that's, again, same process. All right. Now, let's say I want to generate a link for our clients to be able to access all this information. I can go ahead and do this edit share links. And let's actually go here to one that's got line work. So we'll do edit share links. I've already got one created here, but I can go ahead and click on add, and we'll say test 2. And from here, you can specify an expiration date for this link. You can also set up the type of permission that you want to require for this link. And so if you've got an open permission, what that means is that once you give this link to somebody, they'll just create a free username for accessing that, and then they can view that data. If you've got this credentials required option selected, again, they've got to sign up with the free account. But once they do that, then it's going to send you an email and say, okay, is this person able to view that project? You click either yes, I accept, or no, and then they again they can either view that link or not. Once you've got that set up, then you can go ahead and cancel that one. Don't want that. Then you can go ahead and paste that link into your web browser, and it's going to look something like this here. So in this particular project, I can see all of the control points I've thrown in here. You can see all the data tiles that we've got available. Let me go ahead and turn off the tiles for now. You can also see all of the line work that we uploaded there. So everything shows up there, all your cells and assets and all that good stuff. You can also come in here, and we've got the different overlays that we created for this project. So if I want to see, my overlay for the point cloud separation, I can see here what that looks like. All right, let me jump over here to the end where I've got the little legend there, so I can see everywhere that blue color is less than 400ths of a foot separation, and then as we get up to the greens, yellows, reds, and pinks, it starts getting up close to a 10th. And I can see the majority of this here is, tightly registered. I've got a little bit of a separation there, and so on. I can see some purple there where I've got some separation. And so it's a quick way of viewing the quality of that data. You can do the same thing here for the point density. right? So I can see what kind of densities I've got. Blue means I've got, I think it's at least 50 points per square foot or whatever you specified in the TopoDOT extraction for this. And then in this case, we also have an intensity display mode, and you can create as many of these as you want with different types of display modes, like I mentioned earlier. But it's a great way of seeing what kind of data you've got available there. Okay. Now, let's say, for example, here that maybe I want to see what's going on with an image. So let's go ahead and click on this, and we'll go ahead and click in the area over here. And what it's going to do is it's going to download the closest image for that area. In this case being a DPEG. I can see here it pulled up an image in this direction, but let's say I was actually interested in the image over here in this direction. By clicking on that icon, it actually pulls up that image over there. I can move forward or I can move back, depending on which way I wanted to move there. Let's say I want to go this direction here. All right. So I can access to all of the images there. I can also see what that point cloud looked like through there using that DPEG technology. So I can see see some wires and things going on. Let's say I want to measure some clearance or clearance there to that wire. I can go ahead and click on that and see here that we've got about 21 foot in my delta Z. So there's your clearance. So again, some basic measurements there. And then lastly here, let's say that maybe your client, let's turn off the lineup for now. Let's say maybe your client needed some extra clearance measurements here that you guys didn't extract, but they can see that and they get a rough idea of that clearance measurement, but maybe they want to get something a little bit more detailed. So what they can do is they can send a request back to you. So let's say here they made this box and I can say need clearances. I don't know, extract clearance.
Lowest point or something.
Yeah, the red area, and click send request, and then that's going to get sent back to you so that you guys can, work it out from there. So again, that was pretty quick, but that's the basics there. We're continuing to expand upon all of this and build additional functionality to it. But anything else, Ted, you want to mention?
No, I think the only thing I want to mention is while you're at it, can you bring up TechNet 1034 and just show them that? Okay, so if you go on our website and you just want to know, so the other side is okay. How should we organize our data? How should it be done? If you go to TechNet 1034, it's a live document. And basically it explains how to organize and how to organize your data and what the requirements are to store it in as a statics. We've been doing mobile today, but static also, or mobile systems. So it's pretty straightforward. We even go down to give you a directory structure we like to pass the data on, so it makes it less confusing. Everything is written as requirements for what it should be, and that what data should be in what folder and why. And then there's a live document on all these. So if you go to the bottom, you'll see these. Again, this is for mobile now. And then if you go here, you can click on this document, and it actually has all the videos and explains how to do it. So how to meet those requirements. And again, they're not difficult. So you can actually work internally with between your acquisition and your extraction people to work. I would, it's not just doesn't have to be an outside client. We've had clients that they're taking data from their acquisition team, their survey team that's just got problems, and then they're stuck with it. So now they put requirements on internally, and they go, no, we don't process until you've laid it out this way, and everything runs smoother and tighter. And they basically get more geospatial quality, more quality on their much higher quality on their projects. So this is basically what Maldi's showing you, just the video for how to basically do tiling, for example, and then how to handle it when you're, how to use the tools. So it's all there. We'll open it up now. We've kind of hit the hour, a little past 3 minutes, but not bad. Better than this morning. So if there's any other questions out there, please let me know. Let us know. We can ask them now if you'd like, or of course, where to find us. So we're always here for you. I will just point out that TopoCloud Pro is the TopoCloud Pro, not TopoCloud. You have that at TopoDOT. But TopoCloud Pro, the website version where you can set up or organize your own data hosting and feed into all your, feed into your, of course, your entire project. Basically, that is that will be sold, and it'll start in January. We'll be selling that module. It's a fixed price every year. It's very reasonable. And basically, but until then, we're letting anybody that wants to use it and try it, set up a project on it. We're setting up a few projects now for our customers, for the TopoDOT community, and they're trying it. It's been really well received, and we think it's going to be, I think it's going to be really powerful because it's going to take all your operations to the next level. Internally, whether you use data internally or whether you're basically providing services, to external clients. Okay. So Maldy's showing off. He's showing another project, I guess.
No, just.
You're done. Okay, just messing around. So that's how it comes up. There's one in Arizona. Same thing. Okay, so that's it for me. If they've asked Lucas a few times, we might have got mixed up. I want to say you asked Lucas Fraser. I asked about when it's available. Version 11 within a few days, and then TopoCloud Pro is its beta version through January or through December. You can use it. But it's working. I mean, and we're improving it constantly. But it's it's up and functional. You may be more than welcome to try that out. But for new customers, what sort of new user support and training do you provide? We are looking to purchase, but biggest obstacle is getting up and running. Oh yeah, you Kelly. Okay, no problem. What I'm going to say is you can get up and dangerous in 4 or 5 one-hour sessions, and we organize training online around your data. We'll get you up and running. Longer term, we're seeing more and more of our customers. We have a 2-week training program for doing the management of all this. It's extensive, it's intensive. It's not necessary to be up and functional, but more and more that's getting a lot of interest for our customer base. That's available also. And then we have a users group in May where you come for and basically talk to other customers. But in the short term, you really have to dedicate someone 4 or 5 one-hour sessions plus some time to practice, and you'll be extracting features, you'll be extracting things, and you'll be proficient. And then, moving forward, we're here for you. Training is always available. The next time you have a problem, you set up training again. It's not that you can't get training here at TopoDOT. The TopoDOT team's always ready for you. We do go-to-meetings when you find something new. We show you how to do it. We keep you running. It's a constant learning process. So don't worry about it. Just jump in. It's the only way to do it. But you'll be up and running. I don't know if you're a MicroStation user. Don't worry about that. It's basically 4 or 5 one-hour sessions, whether you are or not, you'll be up and running. You don't have to learn MicroStation at all either. Just point that out. Some people think you do. No, don't worry about it. We've basically taken all the MicroStation tools that we use, incorporated them into the TopoDOT environment, and you'll be up and running. Okay. So you're welcome, Hugh. Any other questions? Let us know. And until then, I'll be gone for a couple of weeks. We're doing a European tour where we have a lot of new customers. But the team is here. We're not all leaving, so they'll be here. People ready to take care of you. Please call. Please jump in. And try to really think about this data organization, because that is important, and that's what's going to make this really take all your operations to the next level. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time, and have a good evening, and we're here for you if you need anything, so let us know. Okay. Okay. All right. So who's turning it off? I guess I will. And webinar, goodbye, guys.